Hello, America. You know, legends of real estate in Las Vegas are not born, they're made. They're made through hard work, the willingness to learn, the willingness to share their talents, the willingness to lead, and the willingness to help everyone around them. And, you know, legends of real estate in Las Vegas are really iconic, and we have a really amazing guest with us today, a true legend of real estate in Las Vegas. And I'm going to ask our fabulous CEO, broker owner, INESSA, to introduce our guest for us today. INESSA.
Yes, I'm very honored you're here. We didn't have the camera on a few minutes ago, and everything you already told me, I'm just like blown away. You're definitely an incredible individual. I'm very proud to, have you here. And please tell us about how it all started. When did you got into real estate? And
I was born in real estate.
You.
My father was a realtor.
Interesting.
So from the time I think I was 8 years old.
And we're talking about Las Vegas, right?
No, he was.
Oh.
I'm from Ohio.
Ohio.
And so that was in Ohio. So I grew up in a real estate household. I left home when I was in my late teens. So I got away from real estate. But by the time I was in my early 20s, I was an investor.
Wow.
I already owned a house and I was buying and selling land.
Wow.
And that was my first love. And I was a dancer at the Silver Slipper and then at the Dunes.
Wow.
And when I retired from that, I had to decide. I studied to be a chemist, hated it.
Okay.
So when I retired from being a showgirl, I had to decide what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I had to work. I mean, it's just part of one of those things. And so I thought about it. I decided to get my real estate license because I'd always loved buying and selling. So I thought this might be something that I would be good at.
If I may ask, because this, I don't even know what year we're talking about, like 80s, 90s?
I was a showgirl in the late 60s and 70s.
You look amazing. I can't believe that, we're talking.
Tell us about something with the showgirls.
Yeah.
Like that's iconic to Vegas, showgirls. You can't just skip over it.
What do you want me to tell you? It was
Well,
fun.
yeah, I can imagine. You were at the Dunes,
I was at the Dunes in Viva La Girls.
Nice,
and you
beautiful.
did shows nightly, or
Yes, 6 nights a week.
wow.
And
I'm
you studied the choreography. You repeated the choreography.
Was it fun?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And do you still keep connections with
Not
some
really.
of the people?
Some, but not many.
Yeah.
DEIDRE, is that something that somebody who wants to become a real estate agent, would you say they need to have a personality like that, somebody that's comfortable to be out on yes?
You have to be comfortable in front of people.
In front of people.
If you're not comfortable in front of people, you're gonna have, if you're shy, you're gonna have a little bit of problem with real estate because people don't mean to appear confrontational. But sometimes they do. They're not. They're just trying to get the answer that they need to get where they want to go.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with people being the way they are, being human beings. You have to kind of understand that people do things that seem totally out there, and it's because they don't know better.
They don't know.
They want the answer they want. They don't know how to ask the question. So they're going about it the best way they can to find out, well, what is my home worth? You'd think they could just say, what is my home worth? And many do. But some beat around the bush. Well, I was thinking about selling my house. Okay, that's really nice. Would you like to meet with me so we can go over some comparables? Well, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? You just told me you were thinking about selling your house.
So a lot of times, and I teach my agents as well, that I do have clients that later, after the transaction were finished, they will thank me because they needed someone who will not be too pushy, but at the same time, give them that a little extra hinge to complete, because they wake up one day and they go, oh, you know what, we want to sell this house, buy something bigger, and that's their vision. And there's somebody else comes in the back that takes that vision into reality full force with handling this transaction here, selling it. You might stay in your house for another month. Okay, with 2 escrows tying together, buying this one, relocate. and to them, and then all of a sudden one day they go, oh my God, all we said to our agents, like, maybe we want to move, and then, you know.
Exactly,
So
but
how
the
you
agent
do it?
has to, well, you know, when somebody says, I think I might want to move, I say, well, let's make an appointment and we'll get together and I'll come over and I'll talk to you about your house and about what you want to do when you move out of this house. Where do you want to go? You know, what is your vision of the future? And I'll come over and we'll talk to you about it. And of course I go with a full comparable package because they don't know what they're looking for. They're looking, but that's what they're looking for, you know. So I go over there with I go with a full listing package, ready to list that property on the spot, because they probably do. They wouldn't have called me, and that's what I tell new agents. They wouldn't have called you if they didn't have a desire to do a transaction. They just don't call you just to chit chat, unless you're best friends.
Would you say that that's always been the way that you do real estate, right from the time you started through till now? Would you say that's one thing that doesn't change?
Yeah, probably so.
What do you think would have been the biggest changes you've seen in your real estate career from the time you started till now? Well, I mean, we all know the lie of the land at the moment, but going back 20, 30, 40 years, I mean, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had?
Well, I think my biggest challenge originally was that I was a showgirl, and my brain was showgirl brain. It was not real estate brain.
Oh, nice.
So I was into being cute, and
you
this
still
is
are.
not.
You are very cute.
This is not about being cute. This is about being smart,
Yeah.
and they're not always the same. So that was kind of a challenge, but. The changes that have happened in the business, there's a lot of changes that have happened in the business. You know, back in the beginning, people had no access to MLS, so they were really, what we did was a mystery. Now they can go on to Zillow or Redfin or any of the online sites, and they can look up properties. They can go to realtor.com and they can look up properties, they can look up comparable values, they can look up mortgage rates. How they connect all of those together is still a mystery, but they can see all the elements now.
See, the reason for us to do this beautiful broadcast, Legends of Real Estate, it's to actually, because of that it looks like they simplify it from one end, but and a lot of people treating this like, oh, I'm just gonna go get my license and I can do this part-time, you know, like it's not a big deal. And that is so not true. That is just not true, because this is a literally full, to me, like I don't even know how would you be able to handle a transaction just you know, half of it. I don't know.
I know, and I tell people that too. I say the problem is now you're in the service industry and you're serving people's needs, and they have a need to go on Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon, which is their days off, and they work swing shifts, so they have to go in the afternoon, and those are your 2 days to work at your job.
Yes.
That could be a problem, couldn't it?
Of course. And maybe, you know, you gotta send an offer on Friday, and then the agent leaves you a voicemail and says, I just sent you a counter. I need it by 4 o'clock. Otherwise, we're accepting the next person. And if you're at work, you just miss that whole thing.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, we love when this happens.
Oh yeah, I meant to turn it on.
Shows how busy we are.
Turn to.
You
got to know when somebody's going over the edge, when they're doing something wrong.
I love what you said yesterday. Can you repeat that? When you said if seller says something, you sense that he wants acknowledgement. You know, like you have to be able to read between lines.
I was just saying, you know, when you're talking to a seller, when you more importantly, when you're listing a property, pick up on what the sellers are saying. Like they might just say something about, oh, you know, I've got a new water heater. And you think to yourself, why are you telling me that? Is there a reason for that? Maybe you want people to know that, you know. I'm just taking that as an example. So it's like reading the person while you're talking to them and just thinking, oh, they're saying this,
and then you have to mirror their tempo, and you have to mirror their approach.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to do those two things.
But without manipulation. Like do this organically, because you are trying to do the service. And so
they wouldn't be talking at the speed they're talking at unless that's the speed they understand at.
Yes, exactly.
So you have to slow down sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, or when they tell me that they put a new hot water heater in, I go, well, that's really nice. What else new did you put in the house? I'll write these things down and I'll put them in the agent to agent comments. Maybe I'll put them in the public comments. You know, buyers don't particularly care about the hot water heater until they have to buy one, but ahead of time they might not particularly care, but they might think solar panels are phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know,
I think sometimes they're trying to tell you in
how special their house
in a
is.
roundabout way some things that they don't actually want to say in case you think they're being sort of too vain or something, you know.
Or egotistical. Well, I think so too. You absolutely nailed that on the head. They're trying to tell you about their house. They're trying to tell you how wonderful their house is. And we have to recognize they loved that house for a long time.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't love it for a long time, they loved it for whatever amount of time they owned it. And they are trying to tell you what's so special about that house because they're not positive you're recognizing it. So you have to make them comfortable that you recognize what's special about that house and that you're going to write down all of these special things, because then they'll start thinking of them, and some of them are very helpful.
You know, I had did few sales. That is, I just want to share and see if you've ever been in a situation like that. Have you ever had to sage the house in order to sell it?
I have no, but I'm telling you, I had one. I told the buyer if they bought that house, I would not be there for the inspection, and I would not be there for the walkthrough, and I would not go in that house because it had ghosts. I was not going in there. There was something about that house that made the hair stand up on my arms, and it wasn't my listing, it was somebody else's. And they went in and they looked at the whole house, and luckily they didn't buy it.
Yeah.
So I've never saged a house.
I did.
I'm not afraid of ghosts particularly. This sounds silly. I mean, but I think some houses are haunted, whether it's a residual of somebody who lived there for 20 or 30 years where the house kind of picked up the tempo of that person, or whether there's something there.
Underneath of the house.
Yeah, well, I don't know about underneath, but I would say that it's my feeling of a presence being in the house was standing next to me. I mean, it was like across the room where I could see it. It was, really obvious. It didn't bother me most of the time. I don't care, as long as they're not interfering, because a lot of times whatever the personality of the building is just the personality of the building. And it's going to attract a person who is compatible in most cases.
Of course, yeah.
Unless it's an investor and he won't care, it just has to pencil.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that you...
So you've saged houses.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a situation where your client was confused, but as they trusted you and you hold their hand, you were able to put them through this, tunnel of the process, let's say relocating or making some choices, and you felt like you partially, kind of like made a big change in their life because they trusted you. And
Well, I call that dazed and amazed.
Okay.
But confused is good. They look dazed and amazed like a deer in the headlights sometimes. Sometimes you have to put them through that.
Yeah.
You can't help it. I mean, they're being relocated. They have to move. It's not their choice. They're not excited about it, but they have to do it. And I'm able to try to figure out, by listening to them talk, what it is that's, do they belong in a condo, or do they belong in a townhouse, or do they belong in a ranch style house, or is a 2-story right for them? Do they want to be in Aliante, or do they want to be in Southern Highlands? I'm able to talk them through that.
Yes.
And
that's what money can buy, and only with time. And I would still say you have to have it. When you say
you're born with it. You're born with it. That's not something I can teach somebody.
Correct.
They're born with it. Now, it's latent in a lot of people, and you can open that door and they can do it.
Okay.
But you have to have the ability to understand what people tell you, because they're doing their best to explain. That's what I meant in the very beginning when I said, they say the damnedest things, but they're trying to explain what it is. Like with the water heater, they're trying to tell you that their house is special, and the water heater isn't the special thing. It was just their way to get it in and start that conversation. So you've got to allow that conversation. You've got to develop it with them. And because you'll find out special things about that house that have nothing to do with the water heater, but you need to know those special things because it'll help you market that property. So I think, and when a buyer is buying, especially if they're being relocated here, they don't know which end of the valley they want to live in. Sometimes they think they do, you know, and that's fine. If they tell me they want to be in Henderson, then that's where we go. You know, I'm fine with Henderson. They say, is that a nice community? And I go, it sure is, because they're all nice. You know, it's in the eye of the beholder.
Deidre, does ever happen to you when you work with someone and then they go, oh, I'm going to be agent? Because the way you deliver everything is so like, you know, easy looking from that angle, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, that was great, I want to be an agent. And you're thinking, oh my, what I did in the back end, nobody noticed, but this was a lot of work. Like I had to juggle 100 things.
Do you know Jenny Holder?
Yes.
Okay, Jenny used to be my manager when I had 40 agents. And one of the things she used to tell everybody is, our job is to be like ducks on a pond, and we sit there and it's all smooth and there aren't any ripples, and underneath our little duck feet are just going like this.
I love that.
You know, and it's so true. It is so true, because that's what we're doing. That's what they're paying us to do. So if we made it really easy for someone and they want to be an agent, I say then you ought to check into it.
Yeah. Excellent.
I encourage them to go ahead and do that. I don't tell them how hard it is, because they'll find out and they'll decide if they want to go there.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like we mentioned earlier, you know, each transaction is just has its own elements about it, his own, you know, up and downs and the structures. You have a situation when the seller changes their mind. What do you do with that? You have a situation when your buyer
You can't do that though. There's laws against it.
The buyer is having cold feet, and you have a situation when the lender is trying to, because you know, they do the switch and bad situations,
Or if they pick their own lender and they got a bad one.
Yes.
One of the things, another thing that I teach when I'm teaching my babies, my agents that I mentor, is that they're in real estate. Real estate is a 10,000 piece puzzle, and every transaction only has 1,000 pieces in it. And your job is to figure out which of those 10,000 pieces go in that transaction and get them all put in there so that you have a pretty picture at the end.
Oh my God, nobody could say it better. I'm really.
But you need to understand all 10,000 pieces.
You do.
Because otherwise, how you gonna figure out which 1,000 go in that puzzle?
Yeah. And to me, sometimes it's about staying in this energy, you know, staying in the frequency, and being in all this, like breathing real estate in and breathing real estate out. My broker, my mentor, was Betty Lee.
I love Betty.
I love Betty. And you know, when you start this,
Mine was
right?
Florence Shapiro.
Oh, I love Florence Shapiro too. When you start in this business and you have the right people showing you the way, it's just your future gonna look brighter, and the lives that you touch, you are responsible for it, because you can really like feel like you just lost a transaction for a client, right? And that was her last opportunity. 6 months later, she changed her job. Now she's on a new job. She can't buy for another 2 years, and then
Sometimes you can lead that horse to water, but you can't make a drink.
Yeah, but if you can't even lead it, you know,
that's their responsibility, not yours.
for the agent, I mean, for the agent to be able to do everything they can, instead of treating real estate as a, you know, part-time, one deal a year.
Make a whole bunch of money real quick and go on.
Like that's,
big car, cell phone, and lunch.
yes, that's not the
it.
case. That's not the case. Yeah, that's the whole, I guess, point of us.
Well, if an agent is going to be that kind of agent, there's going to always be those. It's always going to be that way. There's going to be the hero of the year every year. You're active with the board. You watch this agent is the agent, and next year, where are they?
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that? Every year. I've been at this 40 years. I've seen 40 of them. And they're all gone. You know?
Yeah.
What keeps one to stay then?
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what I'm doing. It's all about me. Don't you know that?
Of course, always, yeah. The word legend to me, it has this weight about it. This is people who were committed. This is people who had a vision. This is people that did it for the community, did it for us.
I did it for myself too.
I know, but please.
Don't worry.
You know, no, but maybe
I have
like
a good,
this-
healthy sense of id
Yeah.
and ego.
But something in a bag that you might not even be able to like really identify. You made this road ready for generations to
And
come.
that's my job.
You know,
It's
yeah.
my job now at this point because I don't need the money.
Okay.
I invested wisely.
Mhm.
I am not rich, but I have some money and I have income. Yeah, it's my time to train people. That's what I've been doing for the last 7 or 8 years is training people.
Exactly, and this is like where the circle is coming. Well, as we interview legends, that's why the question was if you're, you would. Well, I guess I would change the word coach to mentor. And,
Yeah, because that's what
you
I
know,
call myself.
So you're a mentor.
I
and
share.
You already do that.
I share, and that's why with
Okay.
Jessica, when she didn't want to learn commercial, I didn't teach her commercial.
Okay.
Because she's never going to want to learn commercial. I figured that out. She just doesn't want to learn it. And she's going to make a couple $100,000 a year selling houses and raise her kids. And, and where her husband works too. I mean, so they're going to have a really nice life.
But I kind of respect her for knowing where her boundaries are. Not stepping over because you can get burned out.
When you can let somebody say, but you should do commercial. No, you shouldn't if you don't want to.
If you can, for example, as well, have that kind of a, because it's a different element. It's a different
It's
animal.
100% different than selling houses.
For sure.
DEIDRE, you do teaching at the Las Vegas Real Estate Association. So you're teaching 200 to 300 people at a time with these
No, 40
classes.
on CE, on post and regular CE, it's usually 40 to 60.
And then it goes up.
Orientation, it's a couple hundred.
Orientation, yeah. Do you find that's rewarding, that teaching?
Orientation is not.
No.
And I'm not real fond of post. I like CE, because you get people who survived their first year and didn't get on that revolving loop and gone,
Yeah.
right?
Do you like the name of my company, Show Vegas Realty?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
It's very
Because
Vegas, right?
showgirls.
Yeah, see?
And I thought it was because of Graeme.
Absolutely, to honor Graeme when he
I
there.
laugh, but that's interesting.
So it was fun. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
And he helped you in real estate career, how?
No, it didn't really. Well, yeah, it helped me in the sense that it got me past being shy. If I ever was shy, which I kind of doubt, but
How many years did you do it for?
13.
13 years as a dancer.
Excellent.
Wow.
Wow, that's
You must have
beautiful.
seen some changes.
21
even
through
in the-
34, and then I got my real estate license.
People that easily adopting, because I'm an immigrant. I came here in 2002, 2003. Long story short,
From
from
Egypt.
2006, from Armenia.
From Armenia.
And in 2006, I got my real estate license. When I first walked into Betty's office, you know what she said?
No.
She said, "What are you selling?" I was 5'8", on my high heels, long red hair, a tiny skirt, or maybe even shorts. I said, "What are you selling?" I was 24. I said, "I don't know. What do you want?" He said, "You need to, change your wardrobe, change your attitude, change this, change that." And yeah.
Somebody did the same thing for me
Yeah.
because I was a showgirl.
Okay.
And I went in with the attitude that I didn't have to be smart. Because as a showgirl, you do not have to be smart. You have to be pretty and you have to have big boobs. But you don't have to be smart. If you don't have big boobs, you have to buy a set. But you do not have to be smart. And so I spent 13 years not having to be smart. And I got in real estate and I thought I didn't have to be smart. And then all of a sudden somebody said, first of all, I had to change my wardrobe also.
Yeah, I did.
The introduction later, if you cut and paste.
You're so fascinating.
Thank
oh
you.
my
Well, I
God.
don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm just me.
You're exceptionally fascinated. I'm very, very, very happy you're here. I
Thank you.
love females, but I want to be you one day, but
Well, I'm
I'm
sure you
never-
are.
No, I truly believe it takes something that you have a need very specific that I can never have. You're just like more. If you grab on something, you're not letting it go until it's like your grab is much stronger.
I'm quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't have that. I'm lazy.
And when I wanted to close my office, several people would have bought my company. The problem I had is that I want to not be indebted to anybody for anything. I didn't want to feel like I had to do anything. I just want to do what I want to do. And so if I sold my company, yeah, I'm either going to end up a broker, I'm going to end up a manager, I'm a certified instructor, I write the real estate exam, you know, so they're going to want me to participate in all those elements of their brokerage. It's going to be a large brokerage that wants me to participate in all those elements, and I don't want to. Or if I want to when I want to, and then the rest of the time I don't want to have to do it. So I thought, okay, if you want to be truly independent, you're just going to close this puppy down, because my clients are going to come with me wherever I go.
Sure.
And so I just started, you know, several months in advance, letting them know that I was going to be closing the brokerage, and that I talked to Michael and Armina about going to go global in August, and that's when we started planning it, and I started letting my clients know what I was doing. And so December 31st, I officially was in their office. I was actually going to stay over here until the end of January, but my landlord leased the space up for December 31st, and I didn't want to keep him from having a new tenant to replace me, because that would have not been right. So I hurried up and moved into Michael's office, and was officially over there on January 18th. I moved my license on January 18th. And so I've been over there since then, and yes, I've had a boss since then. And it's okay. They don't tell me to do anything that I wouldn't do anyway.
Yeah. Well, once again, Legends of Real Estate in Las Vegas has had this fabulous guest, DEIDRE FELGAR, and we're so happy you came, DEIDRE, and thank you so much for all your insights, your wisdom, and your knowledge, and all the great things you've done in Las Vegas. We love you, DEIDRE.
Well,
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure.